A woman in South Carolina has been arrested for desecration of human remains. That is a felony charge. She faces up to 10 years in prison. She was arrested because she lost her pregnancy and placed the fetal remains in the trash. If you're thinking to yourself, this is not a news story, I've heard this story before, it is a news story, but you have heard this story before because these arrests keep on happening again and again. I've told you about the woman in Texas who was jailed for 5 months after she miscarried in a public restroom. They charged her with abuse of a corpse. They also charged Brittany Watts in Ohio with abuse of a corpse after she flushed her miscarriage at home. She had been turned away from a religious hospital that wouldn't give her timely care for her doomed and dangerous pregnancy. I've also told you about the young woman in Georgia who was arrested for her miscarriage after she placed the fetal remains in the trash and she was found unconscious in front of an apartment complex. I'm still waiting on the police reports and arrest records from the county sheriff's office in this case, but from what we know so far, this case is following the same very specific horrific pattern that we have seen in all of these other cases. To start, all of the women that I'm talking about are women of color. 3 out of 4 are Black women. That misogyny, racism combo was very evident in all of their interactions with police, law enforcement, prosecutors, hospitals, nurses, even the media. I highlight a few headlines in this piece that just are some of the most noxious, horrific things that you can possibly imagine. We're talking about women who had their mugshots splashed across crime pages after they lost their pregnancies. And of course, all of these women were charged with crimes against corpses, which is part of how fetal personhood operates, right? If an embryo fetus is a person, then all of a sudden, flushing your miscarriage, throwing your fetal remains in the trash, all of a sudden that's abuse of a corpse or desecration of human remains. And that is very much the point. Just a few weeks ago, I wrote this piece warning about a coming criminalization push from Republicans, and I warned specifically about disposal laws, about the way that anti-abortion activists and legislators are trying to create these laws around proper and improper ways, legal and illegal ways, to dispose of miscarriage and abortion remains. And the point of that is to make it easier to arrest women, to prosecute women for their pregnancy outcomes. That is the point. I'm going to have more about this larger, broader trend, tactic, nightmare, and more about this case in South Carolina soon. So please make sure you're following the newsletter, that you're subscribed if you're not already, but also please make sure that you are sharing this with friends. I cannot begin to tell you how many of these stories I find sort of languishing on local crime pages where they are often not being reported correctly, where cops' word is taken as truth. And so please make sure you're spreading the word.